Greetings Internet, welcome to Aaron Plays. I will be continuing my exploration of Breakout Normandy. In my prior videos we've done the June the 6th invasion, and we're now on to June the 7th, and now we have the build up, and let's see how far the Allies can get, or how successful the Germans can stop them. So this is the original copy from 1993, made by Avalon Hill, and not the L2 production. And as I say, we're doing the June the 7th, so you can see the Allies ashore, and as I say, we're moving on to June the 7th. I've placed the reinforcements, so I've placed the 12th SS Division. It could have been placed either in Rouen or the Chartres reinforcement zones, or the zones. I've placed them all in the Rouen with the intention to help curtail the Allied enthusiasm in this area. And the other division that arrived for the Germans, and they've arrived in Le Mans, is the Panzerlehr. And again, these could either be brought in Le Mans or in the Chartres area. And with those, I intend for the Germans to start contesting, at least trying to get into this area here, Bretteville, to curtail, and that will probably be the first activation I'll go for. The Americans have got a large group arriving at Utaha, a few odds and ends arriving at Omaha, and there's a couple of corps artillery arriving for the British. There's also been a paradrop here at Maryville. Well, gliders by the looks of it. They can land fresh, but they can't seize a bridge like they did on the previous turn. And the same here, another American airborne from the 82nd. It also looks like a glider-borne troops, and they reinforce that area there. And that is the reinforcement phase of 7th of June. Done, sorted. Okay, so we now move on to the standard daylight movement and attack phase, starting with the Germans. So as I mentioned, we need to get something for the Germans either into this area, or at least into these three areas here to stop. And I know that the Allies could exploit here. They don't have a lot of strength to exploit, but we definitely don't want them messing around in here, taking these bridges and such forth. The best formation that the Germans have for this are the units that are arriving at Le Mans. Now, yeah, the box is over here, but in actual fact, it goes into Area 4 and Area 12. So if we look at the map here, right, so this is Area 12, and Area 4 is the one right next to it, just there. So those two is where they would actually arrive. So yeah, but being clear weather, we'll still suffer the effects of interdiction either way. So we're looking at, if I put a little trail of potential woe on the actual board, the route would probably be 1, 2, 3, 4 movement points, of which 3 of them they would suffer interdiction, and this is what's going to cause the Germans to be broken up as they move. Let's make that a bit clearer rather than using the same markers I'm using for victory locations. So that is the, so they would arrive in here, There's no easy route. Yeah, because there's a river line right the way along here. True, there's a bridge, so they could come in here. 1, 2, 3. That might be the better route, because then I can at least get something in here and here. So yeah, so this will be the initials. Will be 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I can spread the division out a bit, so 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. Getting something into those 2 areas, or those 3 areas, would be most beneficial. So that's what we'll do. We'll start by the active area being Le Mans, where we now have the units of Panzer. Now there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5, 6 units in total. Some of them are really quite powerful, and ideally I would want to get at least one of these infantry units into two of these areas. So I'm going to move them individually, which I'm allowed to do. So the first area, as we know, don't suffer any interdiction, so I'll move them all into that space, and then I'm going to do them separately. So that then into there is the first potentially interdicted space. So that's a 4, so it gets there okay. Then into here, that's a 6. I think, which is more important, here or here? I'd say this one at the present moment. And that's a 5, so it gets there successfully. So flip it to show it is currently located there. Okay, so the next one. So again, that's 1 in there. They're moving into there. That's a 4. That's fine. Into here. That's a 2. That's as far as it gets, but it's only spent, which is what it would be anyway. So that's fine. Right. Now one of the big panzers, trying to get it into this space. So 1, 2, that's the second movement point. That rolls the 3, that's fine. Actually, I'm going to go into this route here. So that's 3. Rolls a 1. Oh. So he gets there, but he's disrupt 1. So let me just get one of the counters out for that. Okay, the next panzer will go the same route. So it's 1, 2, 3. So first of all, this area, interdiction. 5 is fine. Into here. That's fine, and then finally into here. That's fine. So it arrives successfully. Right. The artillery into there for its second movement point. He is disrupted at that point. Not disrupted, just spent. Rolled a 2. And then the flak unit. So it's 1, 2. He only gets that far as well. He rolls a 2. Okay, that's all right. So achieved everything we sort of wanted to achieve, and that we got some quite powerful units into the bocage here and here. I would like to have got an additional unit in there because that's quite open terrain, but I can't see the Allies pushing it too much in that direction. So that is the Germans' first impulse done. Okay, so the Allies' first impulse. So at the end of last turn, the Allies spent 2 lots of their 20 supply points to take back the impulse trackers. We know there's going to be no end of turn and no change of weather for at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 impulses. So we know definitely got up 5 impulses before they've got to worry about the change of either change of weather or end of turn. So what to do? What is the priority? There's quite a few options here that they have. Is it Utaha, Omaha, or pushing on Khan? Don't look like they have the strength to push on Khan as yet, but yeah, I think it might be time to at least try and get some victory points on the board. So let's try and expand from here into Bayal. Now this bridge can transport 5 units across. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 Allied units there. Oops. Okay, so we're going to make this the active area. We're going to try and storm across this bridge, but first of all we're going to have one of the units spend a movement point to try and seize the bridge, which is allowed. Okay, so to seize that bridge, it's a seizure die roll, and it costs a movement point to try this. And okay, any fresh armoured infantry in a free area, so this area is free because there's just stuff in it, I may expend 1 movement factor in an attempt to seize a bridge with a die roll, a single die roll of 7. +3 on the die roll because it's the area coming is free. The other area is not vacant, so there's no modifier there. It's not a flooded boundary, and there is a fresh enemy defender, so there's a -1, so it's net +2. So we need to get a 7, so a 5 or a 6, and they seize the bridge. A roll of 2, so they haven't seized the bridge, so it's still an enemy. I mean, we can still cross there. Maximum 5 units can cross via the bridge, and we're still going to be fighting it. But now it makes that a mandatory. I think it's going to be a mandatory assault anyway. Let me just check. Yeah, it's still going to be a mandatory assault anyway because they're entering an enemy-occupied area that was not contested at the start of the impulse. Okay, so what would be the advantage of capturing the bridge would be is that the Allies, even when they cross, won't hold that bridge until they then control the area. Which means that reinforcing it might be a bit tricky. But let's go. So they're entering an area with fresh enemies, so that costs 4 movement points, so that unit is still able to go across. And this artillery battery can still give artillery support into this attack. So the attack strength will be 6 for the lead unit, another 4, 8, 6, 1 for each additional unit, 7, 8, 9. They are all from the 50th Division. So divisional integrity for the 3 units, it needs 3 units for divisional integrity, so that's 10, and air support is 11. So the attacking strength there is 11. Defending is 4. The 10 for buyout is 2, so it's 5, 6. There's no other fresh defenders there, so it's 6. However, we are crossing a bridge which we don't control now. That was the other advantage. If a unit crossed the bridge while making a mandatory assault is +1. If it was an enemy held bridge, it's another +1, so it's +2. So it's +2. So defense is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we'd seized that bridge beforehand, that would have not allowed them to have that additional +2. So it's 11v8. Alright, and now let's roll some dice. Okay, so the Allies roll a nice 11. The Germans didn't do too badly, a 9. But 11 plus 7 is 22, 9 plus 8 is 17. That's 5 difference, which is enough to eliminate this unit. It's got a strength of, well, first loss will flip it. Second loss will make it disrupt 1. Third loss will make it disrupt 2. Fourth loss will eliminate it, and he's got to take 5. So he is eliminated. That town becomes Allied controlled. Bayeux has fallen. And that is worth 2 victory points. So the Allied victory total is now, I'm going to put it on the Commonwealth side, 2, and I will also mark the town. Okay, so we put the mark over here to show that we've got 2 victory points. 2 victory points here, taken by her. I was tempted to move the armour into this area, but realised I can't because crossing over the bridge here into the area was 4. Had to wait a movement point to try and seize the bridge, so that's 5. It costs 2 to move into an open area that is still enemy controlled. So that's as far as they can go. So even though they've done an overrun, I mean, they could technically move back, but they didn't. So I'm flipping those over to show that they are done. So remove all these dice out of the way. Now, the artillery I didn't actually use. I did say I was going to use it, but I didn't. So it's sitting there at the present moment. It could have entered the area as well, but I didn't do that either. So we'll leave it as such. That ends the Allied impulse, and that will move the impulse tracker to there. So that's the first impulse for the Allies completed. Okay, so what's the Germans going to do now? That was a bit nasty. So maybe time to bring 12th SS into the fur. But where to bring them? I think we need to start shifting everything around. So maybe bring these in here. I was originally tempted to bring them in and engage here, but you've still got the Allies shipping, and anything that's going to be brought in here is going to get hammered. So yeah, I think 1, 2, maybe into Caen. Keep that secure, and then start spreading out along. So that would be 2, 3, 4, 5, which is the sort of maximum movement. Right, so they're all going to enter there. So that makes the zone the active area. Yeah, don't get, like I initially did, by the word all there. It's all the movement factors to move from an area to a zone, but it's just for moving from a zone to an area, you just play the area cost, and that's just therefore 1 to go there. So, right. Let's do these one at a time and see how successful we are. So into that area, 2. Oh, that's as far as he gets. Roll a 2. Next one. You roll a 3, so he's okay. So it's 2, 3. Make sure I've got the camera on the angle there. That's fine. 4. Oh, that's as far as he gets, and he goes under a disrupt 1 because he rolled a 1. Okay. Next, the artillery. That's as far as he gets. Moving in daylight is tricky. So that's his 2. It's going to there. That's 3 into can't. That's as far as he gets. Make sure there's no flak here. Ignore him, that's fine. That's as far as he gets. Next one along. Moving through. This is a big boy. Allies have concentrated some air support on that. That's as far as he gets, and he gets to disrupt 1. So he'll be out of action until at least the 9th. Because they'll be able to recover 1 point. Yeah, you can only recover 1 step at a time, each regroup phase, or refit phase. I can't remember the words they use. So in the refit phase, he'll be able to recover to spent. So June 7th. June 8th, he'll be able to recover from spent to normal. So next time he'll be able to actually engage is on June 9th. Artillery. Gets there okay. Into here. Yep, and then into Khan. Don't really want to go any further than that. That's fine. And then the last unit. Okay. Right, so that's the 12th SS, the Hitlerjungen, on the board. Okay, so to the Allied second impulse. Okay, what can we do about the problems in Utah area? Okay. So, at the present moment, there's still a German disrupted unit here. I think that's got to be sort of the first priority. But I think we'll try to deal with it with the fresh landing troops. So currently coming on the board, we have 4 units from the 90th Division. We can't assault with the artillery, though they can now land because it's no longer a mandatory assault. So, because the area is contested. But we will land 1, 2, 3 units from the 90th Division and one unit from the 101 that is coming by ship. We'll leave the artillery in the beach approach. So it's 4 units that we're bringing in to do this attack. So the area that's classed as activated is the Utah beach approach, and so that's the 90th is quite a weak division. Didn't perform very well over the course of the campaign, so it's got attack strength of 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 3 units from the 90th, so that gives combined divisional integrity, so it's 8, and the air support is a 9. So attack strength is still 9, so it's not too shabby. And the Germans themselves are quite weak. I mean, he's got a defence of 0, a TEM of 1. He's only got a defence of 1. So this should be quite straightforward. Right, so the Allies rolled a 4, but thankfully the Germans rolled a 3. So he's eliminated. Okay. And again, technically that's an overrun, but it costs 2 movement points to get down there, and as there's fresh. Oh, wait a minute. Oh dear. Slightly wide. Okay, there's still 2 gun batteries there. So did all those Allies get through? Right. Okay. He was disrupted. Rolled a 1, so he's actually. So it's like I'm keeping the same die rolls. So he still lands, but he lands with a little 1 on him. The other guy lands okay. The other 2. Okay. He lands, but is flipped because you rolled a 2. So there's actually only 2 units attacking, so it's 4, 5, air support 6, no divisional integrity. So it's only a 6, plus 4 is 10, but the Germans are still on 3, so it's still an elimination, and they can't push any further because to cross into an area with a fresh enemy will cost another 4 movement points, and then that invasion costs 2, so those 2 are spent as well. But at least that area is fully Allied controlled. And these 2 units will now enter. Now I've got to make sure I'm not overstacked here, because the stacking limit is 10 per area. So there's 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 at the stacking limit. Okay, so that concludes that impulse. Okay, so what's the Germans going to do now? Right, they've done the 2 big reinforcements. So looking in this area, which naturally they're always going to be twitchy about, this area here. Alright, they've got 1 fresh unit and 1 disrupted unit. So if the Allies decide to attack here, there's a good chance they'll eliminate that. But they still haven't used the big guns, and this area is vulnerable because it's only a +1 defence. Don't know if it's worth actually putting any more strength in there. We've got 21st Panzer in Caen, but now the 12th SS have taken on the role. I'm sitting there with some strength. The Germans aren't strong enough as yet to counterattack. True, this area is still German controlled, but they're definitely not strong enough to hurt these guys. However, we have got some artillery, so using some of the artillery we can maybe blunt whatever offensive options the Allies do this way. So let's do some artillery. So we're going to do an artillery bombardment, and we're going to use one gun from area 6 and one gun from area 1. So that'll be the lead battery. Now, can I do it over a couple of areas? Let me just double check. Okay, in reference to the rules, the attack value is the attack factor of the attacking bombardment marker. In a field artillery bombardment, the attack factor is the attack factor of one field artillery unit of the attacker's choice, plus one of each field artillery unit in or adjacent to the target area supporting the bombardment. So, effectively, what I've done is I'm activating this area for this battery to fire, and then as this area is also adjacent to the target, he can join in. So it's going to be attack bomb factor of 5, 6. There's no artillery back, so I now choose a point unit. Doesn't really matter the rules, so we'll choose the top para there. Okay, he'll then take the first loss as it's inflicted. So it's 6 bombardment from the Germans against the defence, which is 1 plus, so you just look at the 10 for this, the terrain effects modifier, which is 1, and it's not fortified, there's no artillery in there to help it, so it's just literally 1. Okay. Not 11, not 7, 1. Okay. Right, so the Germans roll a 9. 9 plus 6 is 15. Theirs roll 6 plus 1 is 7. So it's 8 losses. Okay, well the first one's got to be this unit here. Now remember, each unit can only take a maximum 1 step. So this one takes, and a fresh unit, this is used as attrition points. All fresh units, it's 2 attrition points. So we've got to take 8 in total. So that will be 2, 4, there's going to be everybody, 6, 8. Okay. Successful bombardment by the Germans. Right, let's just move all the dice off the boards. Okay, over to the Allies for their third impulse. We're still going to look at the Utahar problem. Okay, and this time we're going to bring the American fleet into the action. And we're going to bombard this battery here. So his bombardment strength is 8. The battery has got a defence of 3, which is the blockage defence 10. So it's 8 versus 3. 5 difference at present. Germans roll double 6, which doesn't help the Allied cause, and 8. So that's 12 plus 3 is 15. 8 plus 8 is 16. What difference? 1, which isn't enough because it takes 2 to flip. So the fleet does nothing. Unsuccessful. Okay. And the impulse marker has moved on 1 spot, so we're now sitting here, impulse 1. Still the turn can't end. Over to the Germans. Okay. Going to keep the Germans focused over in the Utah area as well. because I would like to get some more Germans into here and here. Can't do both at this impulse, so I reckon I'm going to try and move something from here into this area. So it's a contested area at the present, still under German control. And we're going to move in, so I'm going to activate that area there. And we can move in. Now the question is, do we want to attack? Because the Allies will have a defence of 7 there. We'd be attacking with not very much. So probably not, no. So we'll just be moving in, which we're allowed to do. And they become flipped in that area. Ready for maybe, or hopefully, next round. Allied impulse. Okay, do we stay focus on the area? It's the aircraft now we could bring in, and using the aircraft will not increase the impulse. It's still going to make a end of turn die roll, but as the turn marker is still currently on the 1 impulse, there's no chance the turn will end, and using the aircraft does not increase that marker. So really would like, before we start doing the attack, weaken that, at least give it a 1 step loss on this battery. Or do we just go for the attack and use the air later? I mean, paratroopers in this area, we have 3 units from the 101. We have got artillery here which could bombard as well from the 4th Division. Now, I'll be bombarding with 5 against the 10 of 3, so it's not great. But hopefully you can flip it. Okay, we've got a bit of time, so let's do that then. So activating this area for the 4th Division artillery to bombard. There's no other artillery can give support, so it's just 5 versus the 10 of 3. So it's a +2 at the moment, which, if the dice stay the same, we'll flip it. The Allies roll an 8, the Germans roll a 4, so that is enough to flip it, which is the maximum they could have done it anyway. So, okay. So the impulse marker now moves on to 2. So there is a potential on the Allies' next pulse that the turn could end. Right. Can we get some more Germans in there? Because I see that the next thing would be the Paras trying to take out. So this bridge here is currently held by the Americans, and to try and seize that bridge will be extremely difficult, because to try and seize a bridge which has got so many fresh per fresh defender on the other side is going to be nigh impossible, because you need a 7 coming from an uncontested area, makes it gives +3, but there's -1 for each fresh unit there, and there's 4 fresh units, so that makes it impossible for the Germans to seize that bridge. So therefore attacking into there, actually that's a flooded area, so that, let me check the rules. Okay, so crossing that bridge is quite tricky. So under the crossing boundary rules, a maximum of 5 units may use each bridge to cross a river or flooded boundary. Okay, the 5-unit limit for each bridge applies regardless of direction. All right, okay. No unit may cross a flooded boundary without using a bridge. Fair enough. A boundary is unbridged if the bridge on the boundary is destroyed. So can't cross that boundary because it's flooded. So no unit may cross a flooded boundary without using a bridge. However, that bridge is enemy held. A unit may not cross an enemy held bridge from a contested area. Okay, my area is not contested. So I could try and cross that enemy held bridge. Any unit crossing a river, okay, without using a bridge, let's make a mandatory assault. If that bridge or river on that boundary is enemy held. Okay. Sorry for the abrupt end. I decided to end this video at this point because it was going on for, well, over an hour and 17 minutes. So I decided to split it into two. So I'm joining in at this point of the split. So if it just seemed to be like a whoops, that'll continue in the next video. So thank you for watching. Until next time, hit the like, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Comments, as always, appreciated. Bye, Internet.